You said to write about what disturbs me, particularly if it bothers no one else. I'd like to write something from the point of view of the help. I want to interview you.
No maid is ever going to tell you the truth. That's a hell of a risk to take in Jackson, Mississippi.
Courage isn't just about being brave. It's about overcoming fear and daring to do what is right for your fellow man.
What changed your mind?
God and Miss Haley Holbrook.
I say there, Leon, could you fetch me another mint julep, please? I'm so hot.
Yes, sir, Mr. Corey. I'll be right back with your mint julep and a big load of spit in it.
Damn, boy.
I didn't know they were going to make a movie out of the Aunt Jemima story.
You know, Cyrus, I tell you, it's so good for white folks like us to find good help these days. Why, you insolent nigger, you. I take care of you, talk to me like this.
So are you playing
You wish you had that whip,
role?
huh?
Co-host, take this boy out back and teach him a lesson.
Yeah, don't
will.
Don't kill him, though. He'll come back for revenge like the Jim Crow.
I like Candyman. The Jim Crow. We're talking about, of course, the help. The hep.
Which I'm sure every black person was screaming in the South at this point, because you're like, wow, the South was beyond purgatory. It was beyond hell. I think the devil checked out, only because there's a scene in this movie, even like the TV announcement was like, Mississippi, the worst fucking possible place on earth anyone could be right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
Especially for people of color who, for some reason, are staying.
yeah. That's why I'm like, move the fuck out of that place already.
Let's be clear about one thing. If these people could have moved someplace else, they certainly would have.
You know why the devil went down to Georgia? Because he got kicked out of Mississippi. Hey, boy, where you going them fancy clothes there? You want them queers?
Should have taken that right turn to Albuquerque.
Yeah, he was like, man, Mississippi's too hardcore.
I know. Look here, boys. We got a queer and a steer all in one. We got them horns on your head, boy. But, man.
Yeah, this is the old school Mississippi. I don't know what it's like now, but this
Actually,
was
the Mississippi ain't that much better.
MISSISSI fuck you I. Seriously. There ain't much I against I either.
No.
It's just black people keeping it to themselves, being very careful not to piss off the asshole white people, at least as far as the help is concerned.
Yeah, you shut your mouth, try to mind your own business, and hope somebody don't wrap a rope around your neck or burn your house down. And even when you don't mind your own fucking business, people be like, you know what? I'm just going to plant something on that nigga right there because I don't like his black-ass face.
I'm bored.
I'm bored. Hey, you want to hang a nigger today?
Yeah.
Why not?
I think everyone had to hang a Negro quota to fill that week.
But, you know, man, this is back in Jim Crow days of the South, where that law just made no sense. It was pretty much just the dehumanization, the demoralization, and just the downright violation of rights of black people down there.
Yeah, when people were confused about what freedom meant, unlike today, where everyone has equal rights.
Yeah.
Wait, oh, sorry.
Mostly.
Everyone's an asshole today, but back then.
I'm freeing the slaves, so they're all free citizens. Oh, except for all these things that they can't do because they're not actually human.
They got diseases that only, black people carry and all that kind of stuff. They didn't want people sitting on their toilet seats because they thought they had, I don't know, the black version of AIDS back then.
Black plague or something.
The Black Plague, literally. Yeah. The black-ass plague, yeah. But, the more interesting thing about this is that this is written by the author. You read this, right? Catherine Stockett?
Yes. No, I you know what? I didn't read the whole thing. I mean, to be honest, I heard some of it, the audiobook, which is like the #1 audiobook, and I was like, wow, this is fascinating. I can't wait to read this. And then I saw wait, the movie's coming out in a month. There's no way I'll get through it. I might as well just wait and just watch the movie.
Well, came out in 2009, huge book, and it's one of those success stories that really helps sells a book too, because 45 publishing agents turned this down before they actually got to
dumbasses.
Before Penguin Books, I guess, decided to publish it. Yeah, and it was a huge hit.
What's interesting about this movie, though, the fact that they got this guy who nobody had heard of as a director to direct it. Like, wait, who is this guy? And the reason he got it is because he's really close friends with the writer, read the book before she even got it published, went, this is great. I'm going to go ahead and first thing buy the movie rights to this right off the starting gate before anyone else even gets a chance to read it. Yeah,
childhood friend of the
childhood friend.
Yeah,
they grew up together.
Wow,
so it's
really?
like that's why they got this guy with really little to no directing experience in charge of one of the most successful books of the past couple of years.
Fool my ass, jeez.
Yeah, so this is a huge success story all around for everybody involved, and it looks like the movie's probably going to be this big success too, because everybody walked out of that movie crying when we saw it.
Oh, yeah, no.
You said it was like a little girl behind
Yeah,
you?
there was a little girl crying right behind me. As soon as I got up, she was still staring at the credits, crying her little heart out. And I looked at her. He's like, "That's right, you white devil. That's what your people did. That's what you did. You're still going to pay. Yeah, cry me a tear of rivers. They'll never save the black people. They'll never save the coloreds."
See, that's what you tell you. It's like that new bicycle that you like to ride. You got that on the backs of all those black people. Now, go ride your bike and feel good about yourself.
Don't worry, Cole. So I saw that same little girl. She came out. I looked at her and I said, "Little girl, don't cry. When you turn 16, you have sex with as many black people as you can."
I was just starting with your old Uncle Corey.
I thought I was 18 for that. Come on, let's be nice now. Come on.
I was sitting there trying to think
This
of
joke
an
just turned
accent
for the
to
worse.
effect. So I'll be like, I'm those white people who weren't really racist at one point, but I don't think there is anybody. I was like, South African, no. German, no. Australian, still no.
Yeah.
I tell you what, can I admit something though? This is one of those movies where I didn't really know what it was about when I was walking in, but once I realized the first like 5 minutes of it, it's one of those movies that really made me kind of like go, I feel a little uncomfortable, only because I know I'll be looking at Corey and Leon and I'll go, oh, and I'll look at fucking Cyrus and I'll go,
I didn't do it.
Hey, don't make that noise because that sounds like the dogs they used to turn on.
oh no,
Yeah.
flashbacks.
My people came from up north. We're the ones who freed everybody, and then just
White
said,
is
y'all
white.
do whatever you want on the south of the Mason-Dixon line. We're up here.
I know, don't get mad at him, co-host. He closes on Monday, feeds us on Wednesday, and beats us on Friday.
Why I
good
oughta,
money.
Cyrus, you son of a bitch, you and your
My
people.
were paying good money to go see you at jazz clubs. Don't blame us.
The ones that we had to walk through the back door.
Well, sure, we didn't want to get any of those blood germs.
We had to hurry up and get out of there in the undercover of darkness. We were careful not to smile when we walked out of there. Nah, man, you know, this is a film that the reason why Jim Crow is so important here, I mean, in Mississippi and all that, is because, as the name suggests, the Help dealt with the maids who pretty much raised white children as they were growing up. And it was a cycle. These girls and guys, but mainly the girls, would grow up to just, they would be loving of having a mammy figure in their lives as toddlers and children. And then they grow up to like, just have to like hide, you know, they lacked any kind of courage, didn't want to stand up, didn't want to cause waves. Everything's fine in Mississippi. So in order to just be socially accepted, they had to also grow up to treat the maids like shit. And it just kind of repeated and repeated.
And that's sad. It's like they did everything. They taught these women how to cook, how to have manners, how to have self-esteem. Taught them everything except how to fucking dance. And, you know, and that's the one thing where I'm like, well, you know what? I'm glad they didn't.
They should have made this
because that white man is going to pay.
Should have made this into an action movie because there could have been a scene where Mammy was like, I taught you everything you know, but not everything I know. Hit it!
So and then have a big dance off.
Dance off. Exactly. That would have been awesome. Step and fetch it up 5.
No, that's sad, man. A mammy dance off. It's a goddamn shame.
How do you think Elvis learned all his moves?
No, you know, this centers mainly on 3 people. It's a woman named Abby, middle-aged maid played by Viola Davis, who she's one of the main characters who's shown having very close attachments to like these young white children, and she explains how she's raised all of them only to be just kind of stepped on later in life. Her friend and fellow maid, who's played by Octavia Spencer, Minnie, she
Right now, someone black listeners like, that's beautiful. I'm gonna name my baby that.
Yeah, Octavia, yeah. Shit, it's better than Abdullah. But
what is it?
Yeah, what exactly? What is it?
Abidallah.
God damn. But she is a maid that's really, no pun intended, been blacklisted because she decided to mouth off to one of her bosses one day, and she can't find a job. And then you have Skeeter, Felon, whatever her name is, played by Emma Stone.
Right.
And she's the good white folk. You know,
she's a cute one, which you imagine somebody with the name of like Skeeter would be missing teeth, have freckles all over the place, you know. Oh, she does? Oh,
yeah, okay, yeah,
there
you
go.
got to have, right? See,
nobody's perfect.
Yeah. No, she starts working for the local newspaper, and she wants to kind of make a name for herself. And being that she's the more human of all these evil white folk down there in Mississippi, she kind of notices what's going on.
Well, she's the odd duck.
Yeah.
The others fall in line and doing the thing of, hey, they're dating, they marry their childhood sweetheart, they have the homes and the children.
They have babies real quick.
They're all Stepford wives. And she's the one who went out to college, got her education, and she's like, you know what? There's other roads to go down.
Well, yeah, she comes back home, and after going off to college and seeing, like, with a journalism major, she comes back and realizes she's been living in Mama's family for this whole time with Allison Janney, like
Vicki Lawrence,
yeah, like Vicki Lawrence,
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
wow.
well, the other thing, and like these, all of her other friends, they are prettier and they're glammed up. So she's sort of like not quite the ugly duck, but in comparison to them,
Yeah,
She'd be listening to Marilyn Manson if he was around.
Today she'd be that goth kid that everybody be like, that's the weird one. No, you're right. She's never fit in really, and I guess she's kind of used that to her advantage. Comes back from like experience the rest of the civilized world and has a bit of culture shock when she comes back, and she's like, oh wow, we really do treat black people like shit here. Yeah, so she decides to write sort of I guess the memoirs of these maids, saying, what is it really like being in your position?
and each one of them is like, you don't want to know, and I don't want to tell you because I don't want to lose my job, get blacklisted, or go to jail,
Or die.
get lynched.
Die.
Yeah, literally, the
More
law was-
specifically, I don't want to die.
I mean, a
You're
lot of people don't
absolutely right.
realize the Jim Crow laws weren't just about like separating bathrooms.
Oh,
They
no.
were as much as like writing something or publicly saying something that could incite discussion against these race laws was against the law in
Yeah.
and of itself.
Oh, yeah,
Yay,
no.
America!
Yeah,
You've
no,
always
no.
been great.
Yeah, no, it was a way of like
Amen.
and they, it was a way of like making themselves feel better about segregation, saying, hey, separate but equal, which everybody knows that ain't true, or that wasn't true. And she starts to write these memoirs, and like the more she writes, and the more these maids either become very frightened, or they like say, you know what, things have gotten so bad that I got to come in and tell my story too.
All right, I'm gonna do it. But I need to make sure she understands this ain't no game we playing here. Slide your chair from under that table. Face me. I need to see you square on at all times. I got to come up with your questions too? Oh. Let's begin with where you were born. Belzona, Mississippi, on my great auntie's sofa.
And I'll be honest with you, and you heard me say this last night, and I'm not going to bring my own politics or feelings into it, because I got to say up front, this is not my kind of movie. I feel like Hollywood is more comfortable seeing people play these, especially black actors, play these subservient roles, the ones where it's more comfortable for the white audience to see a nice white figure coming in and helping these people than strong black figures actually fighting for themselves. However, having said that, and having already told my my personal feelings, I really do think that a movie like this, just like any kind of historic film, whether it be about World War II, the Jewish Holocaust, women's rights, and any kind of thing of historical importance, needs to be told to remind people of how things were. And this is one of those films, so I can't really come down on it that hard for what it does.
Yet, at the same time, it's not truly historic. I mean, this is about as broad as a examination of this period of time can get. And this didn't actually happen. It's not like, Schindler's List, which is based on an actual true story. This is totally made up as far as the events of this white character coming in and being the magical white person to these black people and saying, you need to stand up.
Well, the
for
thing
yourself.
is, someone like me not having a fucking clue about if this is actually based in reality, I was walking out wondering, wow, this chick is right up there with Oscar Schindler. Oscar Schindler and Skeeter, right there. They saved humanity. They got where's this in the history books? And it's one of those things where I'm like, did this really happen? I'm asking people, and everybody's like, oh. And when you find out, it was made up by some white person, like just thinking that, yeah, this is like a story that it could happen, and I'm wondering, well, did it happen or did it not fucking happen?
Well, context does affect the way that we should receive it, though. I mean, there's no way you can say that it can. I mean, you can go, wow, this is actually pretty cool if it did happen, and then you find out, no, some white bitch wrote it as I don't feel so bad now about growing up and occasionally tossing around the N-word, because I wrote this book at least. I'm like, yeah, you know what, that does actually change to me the way I mean, it's not a condemning thing, but at the same time, you can't help but say, okay, that does lessen its effect.
It makes you think, but the thing is that regardless of that, I told myself, even if it is completely fiction based, I have to look at it in the merits of a film, and it was very like I thought it was very effective as a film in general, just watching it as far as getting me to like characters, getting me to completely despise others. And as far as a filmmaker standpoint, I thought it was actually a good film based solely on that, you know?
Well, I mean, for her to write this, there's no way she's going to jump in it and go like, well, I saw Roots a long time ago. I think I got this. I mean, there's a lot of research that goes into it. Probably a lot of true stories that it's based on that she just wrote around it for the fiction. And it felt authentic enough. But which character I hated the most in this movie? Every white person in the world. That's the thing. Like the first 30 minutes of it, I was like, all right, I understand the importance of this movie. It's good to have these, but goddamn, I hate being here. And the more you watch, you're like, man, fucking white people are just evil. Well, the thing is, and then the more it goes on, it's like, wait a minute, it's not white people, it's women, it's white. It's all these bitches right here. They're the ones who fuck everything up. Fuck them.
Oh wow!
But I mean, it takes you.
I just want to say on the record for everybody who thinks that I'm the militant one on the site, I was not hating white people at the beginning of this.
But the thing is, okay.
Well, tell us why.
Well, the thing is, like, you watch it, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it won't be this way for the rest of you guys, but it's like, wow, man, white people are Nazis. Like, you watch a movie about Nazis, you go like, man, all these Nazis got to die.
No,
what they did.
No, in the South,
yeah,
the majority of you can almost draw parallels to it because the white people that did actually think that it was wrong didn't really speak up because they were afraid of being shunned, hurt, killed themselves. So yeah, in a lot of the atrocities that were created against black people in the South during Jim Crow and some of your worst states, horrible murders. I mean, people having their nuts cut off, their ears cut off, and then burned alive, all in one hanging. And then they would bring out kids to watch this. They would bring like a picnic.
This movie is harsh, and yet it's soft compared to the reality. And yet, I did like the fact that, like, while for the first 30 minutes I was just not enjoying this experience, it won me over and turned me around because you know what? There are characters that you get involved with that you care about, and by the end, you see acts of humanity from the white people. It brings you back to reality. It's like, you know what? Not everybody is evil. And those few acts of humanity had more impact because of everything that came before it.
It's funny to me because, all right, so the story has this huge subplot that has almost nothing to do with the main story at all with Millie during the whole film. Minnie. Is it Minnie? I thought it was Millie.
Yeah.
It's Minnie.
Minnie, okay, who is wonderful.
Yeah.
Easily my favorite character. And the new job she gets, because no one else will hire her, working for the rich five and dime Marilyn Monroe girl, played by, what's her name? It's,
Jessica Howard. Jessica Chastain, but her original name is Howard.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. She's such a good actress. I've seen her in several things now. I really like her a lot. But it really is if it wasn't for the fact that it's such a good story in and of itself, and she is easily the most likable white person in the entire film, then the whole film would have been better off without it. I mean, it's 2.5 hours long, this movie, and you're like, okay, let's wrap this up. And if you had cut that whole subplot out, it would have been a more sensible length. And it doesn't add that much to the overall story, except that it makes you go, oh, here's a white person you can actually like.
You know what? I mean, I know what you're saying by it being fiction, because that's what I noticed too, because I had to like look it up and say, what was the research done behind this? Was this based on some actual incident that happened? And maybe, I don't know, I haven't read that deep. Apparently you have. I don't know if it was or not, and she just kind of sort of fictionalized it, the author did. But, I have to say, it does reflect that rather lightly, the injustice and horrors of Jim Crow. And I think that, the movie is a great education without making people too angry, to walk out and actually approach the subject in a calm manner and talk about it. This film did that. I tell you, these characters, and I can tell that they're probably a little broader on the screen than they are written in the book, but still, they're great characters. We have characters in here on all sides that we love. We have characters that we hate because they're written as such good villains. And the thing that bothers me, though, is like, it's another one of those films where it's like, all the white people look nice and pristine and pretty, and every black person here is just black and greasy. Every black person here looks like a chocolate rabbit. They should have promoted this movie using
not true. There was one good-looking black woman.
Mm-hmm. Well, when they're not, because the majority of the time you see them working. But then again, I'm like, when looking at the context of the film and what they are, I mean, not to say that they need to be greasy or anything, but their maids are working.
I know, but see, that's what I'm just saying.
You're not seeing any of them going to the ball,
right.
with the white people.
I know that. I mean, it's not anything against this film in particular. It doesn't make me feel good to see because I know a majority of white people in the audience, and I can't really speak for anybody. Problems with me. I have a feeling that a lot of the audience is watching this. A lot of people perceive like that stereotype of black people more than the black people actually being handsome or pretty or whatever.
I get what you mean in the sense that here's a film that literally every black person in it is a servant. Mm-hmm. Every single one. And they're more often than not wearing servants' outfits. Now, regardless of the fact that the film is ultimately about we shouldn't be treating our servants like shit, it's still just showing every black person in the film as a servant. And there's a subtext to that is, I'm certain, not intentional, but still visually can't help but have an effect.
Yeah, now the reason why I feel like that is because it's nothing against the film. It really is not. It's because I know that this is a story. It's true to some context, whether it's fictional or not. Sure. And I just feel like we still see more of these kind of images than we do seeing. And I'm even pointing, anybody thinks I'm being pointing the finger at white people. I'm not. I think that nobody out there today, whether it be Tyler Perry, Spike Lee, or white directors, still kind of shows black people as just, everyday people.
I was about to say, you need to write a letter to Tyler Perry about that.
Yeah, that was
every film, thinking back to his films, every character in his film, especially if it's a woman, is either getting beaten up, having the worst things done to her in a film, to where I'm like, dude, you need to lighten up on these women characters, all right? Because I mean, if you're trying to tell me this is how it is in the black community,
no.
I feel worried.
That's how it is to his audience. That's the audience he plays to.
Or she's
he
an
plays
outrageous,
to
irrational
the
bitch.
woman who feels downtrodden and victimized, who can go thank you for speaking up for me and empowering me with your movie.
But saying that though, I'm smart enough to realize that when I go in there, when I'm sitting down, I realize that's a movie. That's not life.
But see,
I see people in life, and I see people that's not how it is. I understand that. Where if somebody is walking this thing and just thinking, wow, this is how it fucking is right here on the screen, then you're an idiot.
Well, I don't know. I'm not saying that people think that that's how it is on the screen, but we still have these images of black people out there either acting loud, militant, dribbling the ball. I mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't. Even in Tyler Perry's movies, we see some films like that. But we still hardly see black people just being, look, regardless of what you hear Leon and I doing on the site, we're two guys who don't do a lot of the things that black people think or white people think we should do. We're just average people. In fact, we're
not even actually black.
In fact, we're racist. We're in blackface right now.
Hey guys, the rally is in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, just don't call your show a couple of ninjas.
A couple of Negroes. I'm so sorry. I was like, ain't no fucking way we're calling that podcast.
Please, make it stop.
But again, and I don't want to cause an uproar with people on the site because I truly do believe that this is an entertaining movie. I'm not trying to hold anything against this film because I think his heart is in the right place. Your three leads here, Emma Stone, Viola Davis, and Dr. Octavius Octavius Spencer, all of them give great performances. Yeah. Again, which kind of makes me uncomfortable because I think the Academy Award is more prone to give an Academy Award nomination to a black person playing this kind of role than if they were.
We've already seen 2 Holocaust films this year. This ain't got a chance.
They might. We like Eddie Murphy said, you could either play retarded or play a slave.
You got to play a retarded slave.
A retarded slave, yeah.
But the thing is, do you want to go tell these women, hey, there's always work at the post office. You don't have to be playing these roles, man, which sucks because I'm like. At the same time, I understand what you're saying, but the actresses that were in this, everyone did a phenomenal job. It's one of those movies where, regardless if it's based on, at least the story itself is based on fact. I mean, it convinced me to where I'm like, wow, this probably did happen. I mean, I know at least the stories that we got in here about how these black women who were the help were treated. That there's even more horrible stories from their point of view that honestly you probably don't ever want to hear. You probably don't even want to listen to because it just makes you think about people in general, how horrible monsters we can be. And that's sad.
And that's the problem right there though with this film to me is that it doesn't have any balls at all. In fact, it markets itself as a comedy drama. That's how they're marketing it because they use the same shit joke 30 times in it. It's like, remember how funny that was? Let's reference it again.
Yeah.
Because I felt like they never go far enough with like talking about this stuff. In fact, they keep wanting to go off on tangents. Like, for instance, the one Mila, her husband apparently beats her.
Oh, Minnie.
Minnie. Her husband never beats her. We see at one point she's like got abuse. It is mentioned and then casually cast aside. We literally never see this guy. Why? Why was this even brought up in the first place if you're not going to get into what this has as effect to everything else? It has nothing to do with anything else that happens.
It's
I
not
feel like
wanting-
it does that with everything.
I look at it as not wanting to show you, like, you know, you don't, like in Pulp Fiction, you don't need to see the guy getting his ear cut off because you already know it's happening. You know it's happening. And the thing is...
That's Reservoir Dogs, by the way.
Yeah, Reservoir Dogs. I'm sorry. But the thing is, I get why Hollywood's not ever going to show you that because, you know what? I've seen a movie where they showing you a true story, where they showed you exactly the atrocities that were going on the screen. And at that screening, people walked out of there crying. And even people were like, you know, this is a great film you made, but no one's ever going to see it.
You know
Nobody
what?
should see this.
Well, I think you can't fault it for going off on too many tangents and then complain that it didn't show you every single thing.
I agree with you, and I really do want to I want to pull out every sort of social or political issue I have with this and really address the film. But I will say one last thing. I agree with you on that because although in any other movie I would say we don't need to really show the husband. I mean, it's implied enough, and we know we see the effects of it. But in this film, when we see the character of Abby, you know, consoling, loving these white children, we get the sense of family, whether it be good or bad, with the white people. But when we see like the black families, you know, we don't ever really see the families like loving their children as much. You know, the audience never gets a chance to say, oh, look at the black person's family as much as say, oh, look at that little white girl right there. And, you know, in a case like this, I wouldn't have minded seeing more of their personal story brought into it because I felt like that was kind of neglected because, well, you know, the more glamorous side here are the white families. Now, you know, let me pull out of here again with all the serious race issues here because
It's never going to happen.
I know it is because I want to address the film itself, like some of the because there are some great things in this movie. And one of the things we have not mentioned yet, we talked about villains.
Bryce
Dallas Howard, who I've always felt was a great actress, but never had a chance to really break out. She is amazing in this film. You hate her so much. She plays one of the wives. She is sort of the alpha female of the group of women who have all married out. And when she gets married, other women get married that are her friends. When she has a kid, they all get pregnant because she did.
Well,
she's the leader of the Stepford Wives.
You take all the racism and racial issues out of it. This is a story about Mean Girls, and she's the ringleader.
Her name's Hilly Hallbrook, and she is the main one.
Might as be Heather Hallbrook.
Yeah, and she considers herself to like be, you know, maybe more progressive than the average racist in town, but she is just vile, and she will do anything. First of all, she's just vindictive against any of her white friends. So think about how she is towards the common help around the house, the black help, and she gives such a great performance in making you just despise her. And I hated her so much that I loved her in this film as an actress. I thought she was brilliant.
She needs to go.
Thinking like, I know she's evil, but she's so hot.
Yes,
she is, and there is something crazy about that. To where, I mean, I honestly think there's some weird psychosis going on with people when they see that character because, she's so attractive, you want to fuck her, but she's so vile and vicious that it really fucks you up to where you're like, wow, this is the great. You know, I thought that one chick in that other Tyler Perry ripoff movie was a great villain. Like she is the villain of the year. I mean, where she's scarier than Darth Vader. Any fucking
I know they should have played the
fictional villain
when she walked in.
I know, but at the same time, it was a disconnect. Well, I felt like all of the acting, including her, was really good in this. I thought it was top notch. They got some great performances from everyone. I thought the characters were once again written so broad as to almost seem like I'm watching a fantasy film and not something based on history. I was like, how evil is this bitch? Seriously, they're going to show her twisting the heads off babies at some point just for kicks? I was just
what they should have done?
There's no grace with her character at all. They should have had just an evil cunt.
They should have had her come in and she should have asked one of the maids, have you cleaned the bedroom yet? I thought I did, Miss Hilly. And she just raises her hand. The black person's like up in the air on the throat. Did you really clean the bedroom?
Maybe you have failed me for the last time.
I think that's going to be in the deleted scene.
I was waiting for her to kill black children in their dreams.
But you said, you have failed the kitchen for the last time. Bring me another black maid. But this one's dirty. But you know, I and then there was some Emma Stone. I really want her to like branch out and get some other roles. I mean, we talked about this the other day, just playing the spunky, bubbly girl, no matter how good she is, she's being typecast in these roles. And I see her as being such an amazing actress that she can branch out of that. And I want to see just her do some different things. That girl you were talking about, let me see her name right here, Jessica Chastain.
Yeah.
I was sort of conflicted with her character because that actress I think is great. Her character is a little broad.
Well, it's very broad, but like I said, everybody. Well, she's a hot broad to begin with. Not to fun too much, but you can't miss. The first thing you think is, Jesus Christ, I'd like to fuck her, and you will. Sorry, she's got that Marilyn Monroe thing going on. What do you want? But yeah, you're right, and she's intentionally played as super broad, and yet, as it goes along, you find out there's actually a lot more to her story that's actually pretty goddamn interesting. Mm-hmm. And the actress pulls it off. She pulls off those different levels. Whereas it almost seems like those extremes of that super high, giggly, bouncy blonde girl and the girl who's just fucking tortured. Like, it takes a special actress to pull that off.
Yeah, she plays a character who has been... She just desires nothing more to be accepted by the women that she's grown up with, but they shun her because they think that she's some sort of scandalous floozy. So, skank, yeah, just skank her. And no matter how broad that character is, you feel sorry for her.
You dig her because I mean, just like you know people like that.
And plus, she's like, because she's been separated from that group and been insulated from it. She's
then you can take her down.
Well, then she's so ignorant. She's so ignorant to like what's around her.
But it's made her a better person.
It completely does. Yeah. And the relationship that she has, the pairing up with her and the actress Octavia
Smith.
Yeah, they like seeing them together. I thought they were working magic.
Some
on the
of the best
screen.
scenes in the film.
Oh yeah, and Octavia Spencer. Just to talk about her, this has been an actress. She's been a character actress for a long time.
You've been seeing her around in little bit parts, television, a lot of things for a long time.
Yeah,
the television, even a lot of movies, like even a lot of indie movies.
And she always plays the big-eyed, sassy black chick and. No matter whatever is going on with her, I've seen her in enough roles where she's had enough lines to where she's got a great personality to where she delivers those lines that you say, I would love to see this woman do something more. In fact, if anybody needs any point of reference for her, probably, and I don't mean to be nasty, but probably the way to remember her most is in Bad Santa, where she tells Billy Bob Thornton, Dad, you fucked me so hard in my ass, I couldn't walk right. At least that's how I always remember. That's when I said, she's got it.
Never saw that one.
This might bring back any of her roles.
Actually, that's confusing.
Wait a minute, I know you're confusing me. I was like, I guess you've never seen a Tyler Perry movie.
I know, that's Medea, ain't it?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. You know what, man? Like I said, a lot of people. I know people want to come in and judge me and say I'm just looking too hard into this movie. I have my personal issues with this film. It is not my thing. But as I said, I try to be fair, and I recognize this for being the good film that it is. Do I think it's great? No, not because of any race issues in here, but because I think some scenes in here, while the movie's actually going along pretty well and somewhat pretty competent, I think that there's like a couple of scenes in here where they just, for comedic sake, just go very broad with those. And I'm like, wow, those take me out the film. So that's what kind of prevents me from giving this a full price. I do think it's a highly enjoyable film. I do think it's a movie that's kind of important for certain people to see, and I give it a matinee.
Okay. Well, I like I said, I started out feeling a lot the way you did. I don't know what I'm going to say now that I didn't say before, other than that when it started, I mean, not only was the racial angle, it was more like, I know how you mean. It's kind of like, look, I appreciate what the movie's doing. I just don't want to be here. I don't want to live through this again. I'm past all that, but
damn, how old are you, dude? You don't want to live through this again.
Meet Jim Crow.
And also, it had kind of like a Steel Magnolias vibe there. I was just like, I had such high hopes. And yet, it slowly began to deliver on the hopes I had for it with these great performances, with characters that I could see why they're broad, because they appeal to that kind of female audience that comes in for it, and yet they did end up having more dimension. I mean, you guys look at it and you go like, wow, they were way broader than what I wanted when it should have been a serious film. And I looked at it more like it was more of a comedy that had some very serious angles to it and really had a chance to delve into these things. And yet, by the time it ends on such a much better positive note, an empowering note, and it wasn't quite the great White Hope movie I feared it would be. I mean, certainly Emma Stone's character does come in and kind of help these women gain some power, but they're doing it more themselves, and they bring in the Medgar Evers, what happened with that tragedy with him. Yeah. Now, on the downside, there are some subplots. Some I noticed that kind of came up and then just faded away. But that's almost inherent any time a book is adapted to a film, because it's just hard to know what to keep in and what not. For the most part, the thing is, those subplots that went away that kind of, like, I was going, hey, what happened to that? I can't remember what they are now. I found it to be overall not just an enjoyable film, but just have a lot of emotional impact that I wasn't expecting. And yeah, you'd be hard pressed to not cry in some of it, especially Viola Davis has a scene. It was just like, God damn, y'all, I was resistant, but you're just really breaking me down right here. It ends up being kind of a low full price for me.
Wow. Okay. I understand everything you're saying, and I certainly wouldn't disagree with you for a lot of audiences. I think a lot of people are going to feel that way. There's no question this is directed towards female audiences. Often this type of broad entertainment is like Fried Green Tomatoes, Steel Magnolias. It's that with a Jim Crow plot laid, you're going to feel bad too, laid on top of it. And that being said, it is trying to be a socio-political film. And so you have to judge it as it's asking to be judged. You can't make a film that's about social political topics without judging it in that context. And on that context, I think it does in fact kind of fail. I don't think it achieves what a film like this really should do at this point, especially the fact that we have similar issues going on right now in this country with a completely different group. But that being said,
Say it.
That being said, this is enjoyable through a lot of it. I mean, there's some great characters. There's some really good performances. It just gets so distracted at points. It's like, well, we're going to go way over here for a little while. Like I said, as much as I enjoyed the Jessica Chastain story, it had no business in this movie. I mean, it was 2.5 hours long. You could have cut out that entire subplot in the film. You wouldn't have noticed that it was missing.
But that's where it gets more of its humanity of saying, like, look, all these people weren't the monsters that you.
I agree, but it felt like a separate story altogether. It felt like it was barely connected to the main story. Like it was a side story, like something you would post after the fact as a novella if your initial book was popular.
I feel the same way though Leon does. I feel like that subplot touched so many other issues in the movie that if you took it out, you'd be missing a lot of important things.
Well, I don't feel that way. So.
Apparently not.
Cyrus, I agree with them. You're wrong.
Why don't you wait for your turn? Anyway,
you're wrong.
I still did like this film. I thought it had a lot of flaws with it, and I'm going to give it a matinee. But if you're a woman or if you like these type of movies already and you know that you do, then this is going to be one of your films this year.
Yeah, and if you're white, you should give it a matinee because it'll make you feel like an asshole. Asshole!
I don't have boobs.
Asshole!
Well, okay.
Well, but yeah, I mean, judging as far as a movie, it really pulled me into that story. I was a little hesitant. I was a little scared. And I was like, wow, is this movie going to make me hate white people or what? And it made me understand that people are people and they fuck up, and some of them fuck up because they want to impress their friends. And yeah, that's how shit happens in the world. But it was a good story, good solid story. It pulled me in. I really cared about these women. I really cared about these black women, and I'm sure, like I said, I don't have to see the horrible things that happened to them. I pretty much got the idea of it watching this film, and I understand Hollywood needs to sugarcoat that because, yeah, I don't want to see shit. I don't want to see people getting beaten, having their balls cut off, dragged across the street. I mean, I don't need that. But it was a solid film. I think audiences are going to love this film, and I felt really good seeing that little white girl cry because she needs to realize she fucked up. She fucked up, and she's going to keep on paying till there ain't no more to pay. But other than that, I'm going to give this movie a full price only because I think it's a very empowering movie for women, period. So go fucking check it out.
You know what I will say in your defense, Leon? I mean, well, not even your defense. I just agree with you that I do think it's a movie that makes people swallow the pill a little bit better because there's a white face at the front of it. But I feel like at the end they told at least your three lead stories in equal measure.
Yeah,
it's not one of those stories like The Blind Side where they just adopted these people and kind of just
let them cower in the back and never say anything.
I had less of a problem with it because the fact that Emma Stone's story actually is not the forefront story.
No,
of this
it
film.
is not. It is not. No, they never let the two other black characters be background stories or supporting stories. They all kind of had equal.
Well,
importance.
they did work the craft services table.
Afterwards, they had the outfits on already.
Man, fried chicken was just so good.
I'm just glad a movie like this actually you could see the beginning of the white people and the black people joining forces against the Mexicans, and I'm just happy that
that'll be The Help 2.
Yeah, the Help 2. Yeah, the Help versus the Mexicans. Yes.
Who told him?
And I tell you what, Mississippi. A lot of people were like coming out saying, "Man, You mean racism is still around?
That guy's saying, what? There's still racism in Mississippi? You got like 10 black guys hanging on a tree right behind him. What are you talking about? We love Mexicans.
Yeah, if we want to do Jackass, we don't have to ride bulls or run an alligator pit. We just have to walk through Mississippi.
Racism, that's just decoration back there hanging on from that tree. What are you talking about?
I thought it was Halloween.
Before we wrap up, I got to say, we're missing a couple of people here. Sissy Spacek is in this movie. She actually looks like she's having a really good time with this.
She's great.
We also have Cicely Tyson, who is a special effect made by Weta. with the same technology that brought Gollum brought us Gollum. I mean, damn, she looks.
Well, it's funny because back in the 70s, she played the oldest woman in the world. The story of Miss Jane Pittman.
Right.
And now you see her like, wow, she really is Miss Jane Pittman.
She is the oldest woman in the world
I
right
thought
now.
that was actually Gollum playing a black lady. I was like, wow, now Gollum should win an Academy Award for that. Like, Corey will not be upset about that.
It's funny because you thought it was Andy Serkis as Cicely Tyson.
That's right.
They got it, Gollum in blackface.
That is the best black portrayal of any woman I've ever seen.
I know it's a Southern film, like Hello Dolly or something. I didn't know that meant like the dolly they had to wheel her in on for every scene.
See, that's just
Hey, man, we was making jokes.
Yeah, that's just
you
racist
bastard.
man.
What?
Damn. God
You
damn.
can't trust white people.
You know
What just
what?
happened?
I was just beginning to like you.
That doesn't make sense.
You tell Aileen. Do I have plans for her?
You are godless woman.
We gone done it now.